In the world of professional paddle, legends are built slowly, except when they are not. Agustín Tapia went from makeshift courts in rural Argentina to demolishing records, with over 18,000 ranking points and a win rate that terrifies the sport's elite. But beneath the headlines, just how good is Tapia really? And is it raw genius or something deeper that rewrote the limits of the game? The answer traces back to a story of scarcity, invention, and a breakthrough that changed everything. Agustín Tapia was born on July 24, 1999, in Catamarca, a province tucked away in the northwest of Argentina. In Catamarca, paddle was more a backyard pastime than a professional pursuit. Courts were patched together from concrete slabs and chain-link fencing, the lines fading under the harsh sun. Equipment was often borrowed or improvised. Tapia's earliest rackets were hand-me-downs, and the balls sometimes barely bounced. Yet these limitations became the foundation for something remarkable. His parents, both working long hours, carved out time to shuttle Tapia to local clubs, sometimes driving for hours so he could play against older, stronger competitors. Neighbors recall his father, a figure of quiet resolve, working extra shifts to cover travel costs for junior tournaments. Tapia's first coach, a local enthusiast with little formal training, focused on creativity and adaptability. Training sessions were a study in invention, using walls, chairs, and whatever space was available to mimic the complex angles and unpredictable bounces of a real match. With no one to dictate a textbook style, Tapia learned to solve problems on the fly. He practiced drop shots that skimmed the net, lobs that barely cleared the fence, and trick plays to keep older opponents guessing. Local matches often became showcases for his improvisation. Shots flicked from impossible positions, feints that sent rivals the wrong way, and a calmness under pressure that belied his age. At 15, driven by ambition and his family's sacrifices, he left Catamarca for Rosario, a city with real courts and professional coaches. Those early years, shaped by scarcity and invention, would soon reveal themselves in the signature shots and unorthodox tactics that set Tapia apart from the rest of the paddle world. In 2019, Agustín Tapia arrived in Menorca as a promising newcomer, but few expected what would unfold. Partnered with Fernando Belasteguin, a legend nearing the twilight of his career, Tapia faced the world's best on the grand stage of the Menorca Master. The pairing itself was a study in contrasts, Belasteguin's experience and calm, paired with Tapia's unrestrained creativity and drive. The final pitted them against the top-seeded duo of Juan Lebron and Alejandro Galan. Early rallies saw Tapia unfurling shots that defied convention. Angled volleys, disguised drop shots, and backhand flicks that left seasoned opponents off balance. The crowd responded with disbelief as Tapia, just 20 years old, dictated points with a blend of daring and precision rarely seen at this level. Impossible angles. As the match tightened, Tapia's inventiveness became the difference. He executed a running lob on match point, turning defense into attack, then followed with a reflex volley that sealed the title. That victory made him the youngest champion in the tournament's history and earned him the Most Valuable Player award. For many, it was the first undeniable proof that Tapia's style could not just entertain, but dominate at the elite level. The Menorca triumph did not just deliver a trophy. It introduced a new era, one where artistry and intelligence could upend established power. Tapia's win sent a signal across the professional circuit. A player who grew up on makeshift courts in Catamarca now stood ready to redefine what was possible in world-class paddle. By the start of 2024, Agustín Tapia and Arturo Coelho were rewriting the record books almost every time they stepped on court. Their run was more than a hot streak. It was a sustained campaign of dominance that left rivals scrambling for answers. In just one season, the duo captured 14 premier paddle titles, a number that sent shockwaves through a sport used to seeing champions peak at half that rate. Their unbeaten streak stretched to 47 matches, the kind of run that forces even seasoned analysts to search for historical parallels. Tapia's, standing at the top of the International Padel Federation rankings, looked unassailable. With 18,040 ranking points, he was not just leading, he was setting a new standard for what world number one means in modern padel. Tournament after tournament, the pair dispatched elite opponents, often in straight sets, rarely giving up more than a handful of games. The Malaga final against Galen and Chingoto became a showcase, a 6-4, 7-5 victory that was as clinical as it was emphatic, confirming their grip on the tour's biggest stages. The numbers behind Tapia's run speak for themselves. His win rate in major events soared above 90%, a figure almost unheard of in such a crowded, competitive field. Each title, each streak, each ranking milestone did not just add to his legacy, they redefined expectations for what a player in his mid-20s could achieve. Together, Tapia and Coelho became the force everyone else measured themselves against, the benchmark for a new era of excellence in padel. Measurable. Agustín Tapia's reputation as an artist on the court is not simply a matter of style, it's measurable in the numbers and visible in the data. Over the course of 218 professional matches, Tapia has recorded 199 wins, yielding a win rate of 91.3%, the highest among active players at the top level. Analysis. Analysts and coaches have worked to isolate his individual impact, separating the influence of partnerships from what Tapia brings on his own. Coach Gustavo Prado has embraced advanced methods: AI-powered shot mapping, wearable sensors, and detailed video coding. These tools track not just winners and errors, but also the complexity of Tapia's shot selection, his frequency of initiating and closing points, and his defensive recoveries under pressure initiative. In recent finals, Tapia has been credited with starting nearly 40% of rally sequences and finishing almost half of all points for his team, figures well above the averages for elite players. Efficiency. His unforced error rate sits several percentage points below his top rivals, and his serve and return metrics consistently outperform even his closest competitors. While padel remains a partnership sport, independent analysts estimate that Tapia's individual contribution to match outcomes hovers between 55% and 65%, depending on the partner and context. This is a rare level of influence in doubles competition, where synergy usually blurs individual effect. Creative. Prado's approach to training reflects this focus on creative efficiency. Sessions are built around high-risk drills and tactical simulations that challenge Tapia to invent solutions on the fly, reinforcing the very qualities that make his play so difficult to counter. The result is a technical profile that stands apart, a player whose artistry is not just visible to the eye, but quantifiable in the data, and whose value to a partnership extends far beyond conventional metrics. Every major contender in professional padel now runs closed-door camps dedicated to decoding Agustín Tapia. Alejandro Galán, Federico Chingoto, and Juan Lebron have each invested in AI-driven scouting, feeding hours of match footage into algorithms that chart Tapia's tendencies frame by frame. Their teams isolate patterns, how Tapia sets up his forehand, the split-second cues before he launches a disguised drop shot, the moments when his creativity surges. In practice, these insights turn into targeted drills, funneling rallies to Tapia's backhand, forcing him to defend under pressure, and timing net blitzes to cut off his sharpest angles. During the 2025 Malaga final, Galen and Chingoto executed a coordinated net rush, converting nearly 3/4 of points when Tapia was forced to lift the ball. As the technology arms race intensifies, every rival is searching for the formula to disrupt the most inventive player in the sport. No matter how dominant a partnership appears, the demands of elite padel are relentless. Tapia's run with Coelho has pushed the limits of what is possible in the modern game, but it has also raised questions about sustainability. Their schedule is intense. Dozens of tournaments, constant travel, and near constant pressure to defend a ranking place a heavy load on both players. Fatigue, mental and physical, becomes a real threat as the seasons pile up. Motivation management is now as critical as technical preparation. For Tapia, the challenge is not only outplaying opponents, but maintaining the hunger and the clarity that fueled his rise. Experts warn that even the most creative player can become predictable if rivals are given enough data and time to study patterns. The partnership's chemistry gives Tapia room to invent, but it also means that any dip in form or focus by either player can be exploited. In a sport where careers are often defined by how long greatness lasts, the true test for Tapia may not be reaching the top, but finding ways to stay there. Right now, rivals around the world are engineering new strategies just to slow Tapia down. His dominance forces the entire sport to evolve, pushing boundaries, inspiring ambition, and rewriting what's possible. For Padel, the Tapia era isn't just a benchmark. It's a challenge every rising star must answer.